Welcome back to another edition of the Rossetti and Stewart Podcast. He's Antonio Rossetti. I'm Justin Stewart. We're coming from you, not live, but we're recording from the Pittsburgh Media Hub here in downtown Pittsburgh. Reminder, you can find our show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search the Rossetti and Stewart Podcast. I do want to apologize. Episodes kind of been scatterbrained here over the past month or so. Been very busy with school, so haven't had time to actually edit and publish our episodes. So I did publish our two latest ones. We had a Jory Nelson, AJ Nelson from Lincoln University on like weeks ago, but I just posted that this week. And today, literally probably about an hour or so ago, I posted our interview we did with Keith McPherson. He's a host on WFAN and MLB Network, and we had a lot of fun with him, and that's also up too. And we also have other guests. I'm talking to other people in the future, so we're trying to get them scheduled for future dates as well. So just, a lot of things happening, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say, though. But Antonio, how you doing today?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing good. I covered a hoops game last night. It was some A basketball between Springdale and Leechburg. Springdale won 43-41. Low-scoring affair. They held Springdale was the home team. They held Leechburg in check. Their two top scorers both got well below their averages. Overall, it was pretty. I don't want to say sloppy, but it was like kind of a slugfest. I mean, it was 43-41. That's all you kind of got to hear about it. But yeah, it was a fun little game to watch. Cool atmosphere. It was a small gym. Old gym as well, but cool game to watch. I covered that last night. Worked yesterday. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Yeah, I'm just chilling. I guess that's all I can say. How about you, Justin?
He's chilling like a villain, though. But is for the trip, right? The basketball.
For the trip, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But I'm doing I'm doing actually not bad. I also worked yesterday, and I went over to my grandfather's house. It's kind of become like a routine here every Friday night, and we talked a little bit too long. That's not his fault. It was all cool and well, but I ended up not getting home until 3:30 in the morning. So I'm very limited on rest, though. But I mean, it's all good. I mean, it could be a lot worse. So I can't complain too much, though. But I mean, I just want to jump right into it, though. So we did this a few weeks ago. We did a quick hitter segment where we just basically talk about something we saw in the news wherever for like a very brief period of time. I'm not going to spend the whole show on it, but since you're, I'm not going to say it. Why don't you just go first? Like, what is something that you saw that like caught your attention that you want to talk about?
First things first, you could have said whatever you wanted to say, but I know what you're going
if
for.
I was going to say, I would have had to cut it out.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, my quick hitter, I have a couple quick hitters. I'll save the Bo Horvat as an actual. I think I should just do it first.
Do that to make it as a topic if you want.
We could do it as the first take after I do my quick hitter. But my quick hitter is just like the All-Star Skills competition and the NHL All-Star weekend's coming up, and the skills competition was last night. I didn't get to watch a lot of it because I was covering a game last night, but I did catch some highlights. Andrei Svechnikov won the fastest skater. He's a Carolina Hurricanes player. He's having one heck of a season, scoring a ton of goals. Very, very skilled skater as well. Not only skilled, but fast, good on his edges. I mean, not shocked that he won this. Cale Makar, I guess he could have had a chance, but he kind of wiped out, I saw. That was pretty funny to watch. Hardest shot, this one is newsworthy. Elias Pettersson, 103 miles per hour, a slap shot. Pretty fast. This is the second fastest slap shot for a forward. Steven Stamkos was the fastest of 1 of 3.9. His was 1 of 3.2. Steven Stamkos actually lost that skills competition because Shea Rubber, the defenseman at the time he was on the Predators, shot 106 miles per hour. So, but yeah, this was the second forward to ever win that award. And it's usually defensemen that win it because, those are the big hefties. They got the slap shots. The wingers, forwards, like Pettersson, he's a center/left wing. I usually think of him as a center, honestly, because he's such a skilled player. But to know someone like Elias Pettersson, who can not only deke players out of their skates, but can also shoot a slap shot at 103 miles per hour, it's rare to see. And for a lefty shooter, too, like when you think of hard slap shots, you think of Steven Stamkos right-handed, Claude Giroux right-handed, Alex Ovechkin right-handed. They're all right-handed. The right-handed forwards that have hard slap shots are usually right-handed. It's interesting to see a skilled guy who's solid at face-offs also be able to blister 103. But I do want to talk a little bit about Sergei Ovechkin, Ovi Jr. They kind of took the bread last night in the breakaway challenge. They did a 3-on-0, Ovi and Sidney Crosby, and they set up Sergei Ovechkin for the goal. I don't even know how old he is. I did see an interview where Ovechkin, Sergei Ovechkin, his favorite player isn't even Alex Ovechkin. It's Abe Kubel from the Capitals, which is very odd because like Abe Kubel is a good player, but yeah, that's just funny to me that his favorite player isn't even his father. It's, probably like a second or third line guy on the Capitals.
Fair enough. I guess my quick hitter, I have two, but I'll go quick with both of them. My first one kind of isn't really deals with sports. It's more so like celebrity entertainment. So like I saw something that really bothered me about Kanye West this week, and not more so his daughter more so than anything else. It was just the whole paparazzi thing. And I know this is a sports podcast, but like just seeing people just like celebrities, like if you take their job profession out of it, they're just like normal people. Like they want to, I know that they're not normal people because they're famous, but like they need to be treated with more respect. And like I have my thoughts on Kanye. I don't think he's the greatest person in the world. I think he says a lot of dumb stuff. But like if you're like just like in his business, bro, it's like not even journalism. It's just like, oh, let's go record him, follow him. Like that's just so weird. The whole paparazzi thing was so weird. I know TMZ has a reputation for like, credible information, but like them and just a bunch of other like tabloids and paparazzi, they're just terrible. And I just think when you take it so far, just going to like his daughter's basketball games, like she's like not even a teenager, dude. Like there's just no like, her innocence is like completely lost now. Like she's gonna be in the public eye pretty much for the rest of her life. And I just think that's so frustrating that celebrities can't have normal lives somewhat without someone having a camera in their face everywhere they go. Like literally everywhere they go. They can't drop their children off of school without 15 camera people being there. Like it's just ridiculous. So I just want to get that out there. And then my second one is I was wrestling between this one, but the Pro Bowl is a total embarrassment. Tyler Huntley being a Pro Bowler, I think it's time to just pull the plug on and get rid of it. I respect him as a player. He's done some good. Last year I thought he played admirably, but I mean this year, I mean come on, dude, 2 touchdown passes. Like you might as well just put I don't know, freaking Kurt Warner back in. Hey, why don't you want to be a Pro Bowler? Because like, is that what we're doing? Like it just turned into a joke. Like seriously, the Pro Bowl actually used to be somewhat watchable, and then like somewhere along the line, it just became like so unwatchable. And like we have these dodgeball games like that. What does it have to do with football? Like seriously, like if you're gonna do something, do like precision passing, or what quarterback can throw the ball the longest. I think that'd be more interesting, but they don't even do that. And then just the cherry on top, flag football. Like seriously, come on. Flag football with a bunch of third string guys. Congratulations.
It's like the deck hockey of hockey. You know what I mean?
It's almost like playing 3-on-3 for the NBA All-Star game. Something stupid like that.
Yeah, it's like
gee whiz.
I just like the thing with football is they just shouldn't even do the game at this point, because the thing about football that makes it so interesting is that it's a competitive sport. That's what makes it so good. But when people aren't competing in football, it's not fun to watch. I mean, it's just not. And here's the thing: you don't want to see players get hurt either, though, because like people will, if you say, "Hey, be competitive, we'll do this," you'll see players start to headhunt and stuff, and someone will get hurt. I'm not saying like everyone targets and stuff, but something bad's gonna happen. Just like the MLB All-Star Game back in the '70s, when I think it was. Was the catcher Munson?
No, it was. I think it was Ray Fosse.
Ray Fosse.
Yeah, Pete Rose ran over Fosse. Yeah, I don't even think.
Yeah, but he ran him over there. He ended his season. I mean, it's just like that could happen in one of these football games too. But then to do flag football, like there's no competitiveness in flag football. Like honestly, like it's just silly to me. It's just silly to do a flag football game in one of the most hard-hitting sports there is. It's rather you do the game or you don't do it at all. And I say don't do it at all. Just name your Pro Bowlers. Don't do all these replacements to do the game. Just name your Pro Bowlers and just call it a day.
No, I agree. I see. Like I've always been of the belief, just like I feel like all pro awards, like those are like the top of the crop as far as awards go, because that's what like how good a player a season they've had. Like first team All Pro, second team All Pro, rookie team, like all that stuff. Like those, I feel like that would be good enough. I think, and at this point, the Pro Bowl, it's just like nothing but a glorified, like I don't know, I don't know what the word is to describe it, but it's just like a bunch of like games that really no one even cares about. So I mean, I don't know what you do to improve the quality. I don't really think you can. Like there's not the enticing Hawaii trip, because it used to be in Hawaii, so you took that away. I mean, and then for the longest time it was in Orlando. I mean, and I know Orlando's a nice place to go to, but I mean it gets old pretty quick. And then Vegas, that gets old pretty quick. I mean, it's pretty much known for gambling, and that's about it. So, I don't know. Like, I don't know what you do to improve it.
They're better off doing here hockey changed it to a 3-on-3 format, and that's the most enjoyable All-Star game out of all of them, I believe, because it's 3-on-3 hockey with the best. And when there's 3-on-3 hockey, there's a lot of ice to skate on. And when there's a lot of ice to skate on, you're not going to see anyone trying to take anyone out. I mean, you're not going to see a lot of hits. You're going to see a lot of skilled hockey, a lot of ice, a lot of the best players in the game skating around. And I don't even know if you could do this, but it would be like the NFL doing a 7-on-7, practically, which there would just be touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. But that's kind of how the NHL All-Star Game is, because there's a lot of goals and stuff, because it's breakaway after breakaway, because it's 3-on-3 hockey. So, but yeah, I even like the MLB All-Star Games better than the Pro Bowl.
See, I think it's the best out of all four of them.
Well, because it's one of those sports where it still has that competitive, even though there's not the circumstances where hey, if the AL wins, we're gonna play in the World Series. That's not a thing anymore, but it's still at least competitive, because for years it felt like the AL kind of was hey, we own this place, but now it's there's still a competitive nature to it at least. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those sports too where if Kershaw, this is just a cliche, but Kershaw is the best pitcher, Trout was the best hitter for the past, if you go past 10 years, those are your two guys. It's one of those things where if Kershaw goes up against Trout, Kershaw's going to want to get Trout out to prove that, hey, the best pitchers always beat best hitting. And Trout's going to want to say, hey, this pitcher, he might be the best pitcher, but I'm the best player. So there's always that little competitiveness to it. And then whenever you see, the best pitcher go on the national stage, last year, Justin Verlander or Max Scherzer, whoever it may be, you put someone in the box who, is a great hitter, even a Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, like that, they're going to want to try to get them out and stuff. So I'm just naming names and stuff, but you could still have the competitiveness. And that's what our point against the NFL is, that there's no competitiveness to it. And there wasn't competitiveness to the Pro Bowl, and now it's flag football, which is just, I'm not even going to watch it.
Oh, I'm not watching either. I'm going to be doing other stuff that's way worth my time other than that, though. But, I mean, you mentioned it. Even basketball, I know they've gotten flack for high-scoring games, but at least in the fourth quarter, those guys actually start trying to play actual basketball. So that's all I wanted to say regarding the Pro Bowl and the whole Kanye West thing. And he had his NHL skills thing. Is the All-Star game tomorrow for the NHL?
It's today.
Oh, it is. What time?
Yeah, 3. So there's 3 games. It's like the Pacific division. It's all the divisions. There's 4 divisions. They all play each other, and the winner of that division goes on to play in the championship at 5. So it's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay, cool.
And it's all 3-on-3 hockey. So.
Shoot. Mm-hmm. So they said it's in Florida.
It's in Florida, yeah.
What part is it? Miami or
It's where the Panthers play in Miami.
They don't even play in Miami. I think they play outside of Miami.
I think it's right outside. They're close to Miami though.
Oh,
it's yeah.
Fair enough.
Because I remember being in Orlando, at Disney, and being the young kid I am. I love Disney, but I was always one of those kids. I was like, oh, can we go down and watch the Panthers play? They can't be that far. Meanwhile, it's 3.5, 4 hours from Orlando.
It is a nice drive, though. But I guess we get into like our main stuff. What do you want to start out with?
Yeah, I do want to just do a quick take on the Bo Horvat trade.
Go for it.
Bo Horvat got traded to the New York Islanders from the Vancouver Canucks for Anthony Beauvillier, Tyrati, and a first-round pick. This is okay. So, yes, the Canucks got a good return out of this. First things first, I want to talk about the Islanders. That's a good trade. You get Bo Horvat out of it. I'm just worried if he doesn't re-sign and stuff, but Bo Horvat's having one of the best years of his career, the leading goal scorer on the Canucks. He's just an overall stud, one of the better centers in the league. He's an elite player. You're getting an elite player, and you're right outside of the playoffs. This is a move that makes teams like the Penguins, Capitals, Sabres, all at 57, 58 points. They're at 55 points now. They had Bo Horvat. They have not been playing good, but this could very well turn their season around. As for the Vancouver Canucks, they got a good return. Anthony Beauvillier, he is still only 25 years old. Ratty, I think he's going to be a good player. He's still young too. He's under 20. I think he's like 23, 22. They get a first-round pick out of it as well. So you're getting a first-rounder out of it. However, this is just not a good look for Vancouver because you extend JT Miller, you extend Brock Besser, you extend all these guys. And your best player, Bo Horvat, a guy who said he wanted to be a Canuck for his career, you don't give him his money, and you don't extend him. Instead, you trade him. And if you didn't trade him when the season was going to be up, you're going to try to take advantage of him because you knew he was going to want to stay there. And now that it's just like, for me, it's just a bad look because you have a player who, I was talking about Elias Pettersson. He's a good player, but Bo Horvat is the best player on that team. He's the captain on the team, and you traded him away. You traded away your leading scorer, and it's just not a good look. Like you're extending all these players, but you're not extending your best player. It's just annoying to me. And then you fire Bruce Boudreau like it's the coach's problem. I love Rick Tocchet. He's a good coach, but like it's not the coach. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's just not a good look for the Canucks. Like I said, they got a good return out of it, but they're in shambles right now. They're out of the playoff picture. They had a dreadful start to the season. Start picking up some wins, all of a sudden go back on a losing streak, trade Bo Horvat away. This team's not making the playoffs this year.
Isn't Jim Rutherford like their GM?
He is their GM, yes.
Go figure.
Yeah, he is the Pens GM. I mean, he did great here.
Well, wait, time out though. But, I mean, it helps when you have the resources in Pittsburgh as opposed to Vancouver. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you know what? That's the thing with Vancouver though. Is like, well, here's the thing: Penguins had Malkin and Crosby. They had argued that team, that 15, 16, 16, 7 team was. I mean, they beat the back-to-back like President's Trophy winners in the Washington Capitals and went on to win the Cup, in convincing fashion. And it's just like. Yeah, you're right. The pieces are different. But I will say this about Vancouver. Everyone had them, like, at least being in the playoff picture. Like, you have Elias Pettersson, you have Brock Besser, you have Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who you've had him throughout his whole prime now because he was traded from Arizona in his best years. They have the pieces to win. They're just not winning. Like it just feels like they're always a piece away, or they're not playing right together. They're just so streaky. They started the season off 0-7. It just and when you have talented pieces like that, and you compare it to how Arizona is, or how San Jose is, or even Anaheim, who's a young team, I think Anaheim will eventually pass them up because they're a complete dumpster fire. But like you should never lose 7 straight games with that talent.
Yeah, I'll say this. It's easy for a GM when you're with the Penguins. Oh, trade away pick after pick because you're just trying to win the cup. And, we saw it. And, credit to him. They won back-to-back. He was a big part of that. I'm not going to dismiss that. But, once the going started to get tough, he was bye-bye. So, I know he had some success in Carolina, too. Didn't they win a cup?
Yeah. Carolina won in 05-06.
Yeah, so he did. So he's clearly he has a functional brain as a GM. It's just he's not perfect. That's all I could say. So
yeah, and I do want to talk a little bit about the Penguins while we're at it.
Go for it.
I'm gonna ask you. I know you don't watch a ton of hockey.
All right, yeah.
But what do you do if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins right now?
I can give you the answer that everyone's gonna kill me for. Mm-hmm. I'd blow it up, honestly, and I know that's like a ridiculous thing to say because you're still in the playoff hunt. They are, But I mean, I've watched with you guys. Every time I'm over there, they always play trash. Like they do. Like your dad's like, "Arr!" And Eddie's like, I just see you guys like lose your mind, collective minds over it. I'm just like, man, I'm so glad I'm not invested in the Penguins like I am the Pirates and Steelers, because I probably would have broken your TV by now.
Yeah, I will say this about the Penguins though. As frustrating as it's been this year, they're still at least in the playoff hunt, and they've had 3 championships since I've been alive, and they've had 5 since my dad's been alive.
That is very true.
And that's more than what the Steelers and the Pirates can say. I'm pretty much, honestly, it's more than the Steelers and the Pirates can say combined since I've been alive. So.
Well, no, that's fact. I mean, we've been alive for 2 Steelers and no Pirates. So,
yeah.
And I barely remember the one they won against Arizona. I kind of remember the one they in Green Bay. They should have beat Green Bay. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah.
They should have beat Green Bay.
They should have.
I mean, I know they had the number 1 defense, Green Bay, that year, but they had a couple of costly turnovers to Steelers, and that was going to be like one of my candidates for quick hitters. Rashad Mendenhall, just a side note, he called out Big Ben again. Like it's just like these guys, I don't understand. They like wait till like 10 years after they're done playing, just like take shots at Ben Roethlisberger. I just never understood that. I understand he did a lot of crappy things, Ben Roethlisberger, when he first came into the league. I'm well aware of that. But like it's just like open season with him. Like the national media, even the local media to some extent. And I believe me, I'm not like a Big Ben super fan. I'm not. But at the same time, I just think it's a little bit ridiculous. Like he's not like, he hasn't really done anything like crazy in like 15 years, and yet people still like want to throw all that stuff. He's a terrible leader, even though you'll have like 20 guys say he's a great leader. So it's just like a bunch of conflicting stuff. I just think Mendenhall, I think he has sour grapes, honestly. And like, listen, I don't hate him. He was a decent back for the Steelers when he played, but I mean, I know people have their feelings against him too. But I just want to throw it out there real quick.
It honestly it doesn't make any sense to me, because he's still 2-time Super Bowl winner, and just from the eye test, I highly doubt that he was a bad leader in that.
I mean,
like I don't buy it. It just like, I don't want to say it, but like, well, no, I like Rashard Mendenhall, but it's almost like he wants to be in the spotlight.
Well, no, and this isn't the first time he's called out Ben Roethlisberger. He's done it multiple times, like since he's been retired. So like it's like him. Even not Miles Sanders. I think about Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, the whole Peyton Manning's better than him, whatever. I mean, he is, but I mean, it's not like a significant margin. And like even Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, like those guys were like tight with Ben, and then all of a sudden you're gonna start calling him a bad leader because like you got a sour deal from the management front office, or you didn't like how things.
It was all fun and games. It was all, hey, he's a great leader.
And then once you leave, it's like, oh, he's a terrible person. Like that's just like, I'm just surprised how many people didn't see through that nonsense. Like, and like Le'Veon Bell bet on himself. He got paid somewhat, but I mean, we also that blew up in his face, and his career was never the same. And then Antonio Brown, I don't need to go into that, but like you catch my drift.
I'm gonna say Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell were the two most. We're one, like, you probably had, like, arguably the best offense, like, running and receiving running back in the league in Le'Veon Bell, and you had someone who had 1,800 yards in 2015 in Antonio Brown. I really think that if that core could have stayed together, or even if they could have just, they could have won some Super Bowls, honestly. I mean, if you have Antonio Brown and you have, and we're also forgetting one player, Martavis Bryant, too. I think if he would have just stayed on the field, he would have been able to be one of the best. I mean, not one of the best, but when you leave the league, get suspended, come back in, you're not the same player. I think if he'd have just kept playing and would have just, as Stephen A. Smith would say,
stay off the weed.
I think that team could have won something. Seriously, I think that the team could have at least made the Super Bowl minimum if they would have just stuck together. And they did have Heath Miller in 2015 still. He wasn't retired yet. And call me crazy, but I thought Jesse James put in some good years for the Steelers as well. So I thought the offense, if they would have just all stuck together, they could have at least won something. And the offensive line, too. You had DeCastro, Villanueva, Ramon Foster, Marquise Pouncey. It
was actually a good offensive line, too. It was probably one of the top 5, top 10 in the whole league. So that helped. Listen, I think what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought, but like my whole point with the Steelers is that like they had No, I was gonna say Martavis Bryant. He reminds me a lot. Deontay Johnson reminds me a lot of him from this standpoint. They're both really talented, and they'll make some plays that make you go wow, and then they'll drop a ball that's like right in their hands, and you're like, dude, like what WTF? Like they're that same kind of player, but the difference is Deontay Johnson's like more chill, and Martavis Bryant just did a bunch of dumb stuff off the field, and that probably cost him his career ultimately. And weed, like I'm not against weed. I understand it has its perks. I get all that, but like there's rules in place. You have to follow them. It might not be fair, but it's just how life goes sometimes. So,
and you don't even have to stay off it for a long time.
No.
You just need to make sure you're good before because they give you the testing dates ahead of time. It just, I don't know. I just I like I did like Martavis Bryant, and I still did. I'm still fine with
I mean, I don't hate. Never.
But I'm just
him.
saying, like, if you do know that ahead of time, like, I just don't get how it's addicting. I guess.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And just to wrap up on that whole mini topic, the Steelers should have won a Super Bowl with that team.
Especially with Marcus Wheaton.
He was a good number.
Good wide receiver.
Number
He was a
three.
good number 3 guy.
But I mean, you mentioned the Steelers probably had the best trio in all of football when they were when they were all firing on all cylinders. They had the best quarterback, wide receiver, running back combo in the NFL. And I'm missing someone else. Maybe the Falcons maybe had a case at the time with Ryan. I think it was Julio Jones and was it Devon? Not who? Was it Freeman?
It's Freeman.
They might have had a case, but like I'm really having.
I'd still rather Le'Veon Bell though.
Yeah,
but Freeman was.
I mean,
the guy,
yeah, maybe the Packers with Rodgers. No, I wouldn't even say the Packers, but like it was a very limited like list of teams that had better quarterback, wide receiver, running back combo than the Steelers. It was very limited.
The only one I'd say is the Patriots because they had Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, and Deion Lewis. So.
But I mean, like those, like I see what you're saying. Brady.
It's just Tom Brady.
Yeah, it was really Brady. I mean, those guys were good, but you never thought, oh, those guys were like top of the chain as far as position goes. But I mean, you catch your point.
I will say this: Patriots did have like a solid duo of running backs when they did have. Like they had Sonny Michel. What happened to Sonny Michel, by the way? He got hurt, and then he's just like kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I can look real quick, but I mean,
he was good for. It's just like injuries, man. Like what was his name? Jamal Charles. As soon as he.
Oh man, that injury really killed his career.
He was on and he was another one, the Tennessee Titans guy, Chris Johnson.
Oh yeah. CJ2K.
Yeah, yep. Dude, he was insane. 4'2", 240, like yeah, injuries, man, injuries.
Running back position too. If you suffer like a serious injury, you're behind the 8 ball, like seriously. And like you saw like Jamal Charles, he had like a great first 2 years. I think he tore his ACL. He came back. He was still pretty solid. Then he got another injury, and it was just like a wrap after that. And like that's why people always say don't draft a running back in the first round because out of every position they have the shortest lifespan. And when you give them the ball 300 times and you're running to nothing but 400-pound guys every play, like that takes a toll on your body. And that's why. One more thing before we can move on, but like that's why I was not fond of the Najee Harris pick because he had a lot of carries to Alabama. Credit to him, he's been stable or durable in his first 2 years, but like. When it comes contract time, he's gonna want to get paid, and rightfully so. They know their value. They put their bodies on the line like daily. Like I get all that, but they're probably not gonna pay him. And it's just like, well, you could have drafted an offensive lineman or some. I understand the players behind him weren't that great. I understand that, but there's always value somewhere, and I think you can get more out of a backup offensive lineman for 8 years then you can't have a running back for 4 years. So that's my whole thing. But if you want to move on, that's fine.
Yeah, I do want to touch up on that, though. I agree with your point. Like, if you look at the game, too, if you look at rushing yards allowed per game, these defenses are getting faster, quicker. Like, look at Jordan Davis, for example.
Oh, he's a monster.
Like, the dude runs, what's his 40? His 40's faster than mine, and he's like 6'5", whatever.
And he's like 200 pounds heavier than you, too.
Yeah, it's just absolutely nuts because I'm actually like a decent runner.
Yeah.
And he's blowing me out of the water. But here's the thing, like it's I was gonna add on to the running backs. I'm also opposed to drafting a running back in the first round. However, if they have superstar potential, then go ahead and go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just off of what I've seen, like whenever you have a good running back, your team is better. Like look at the Titans. Derrick Henry, for example.
No, that's true.
Or look at the 49ers. As soon
It's
as they
also true.
got McCaffrey, they lose their first week to the Chiefs. Hey, he wasn't adjusted to the system. He was traded on Thursday, played Sunday. But, yeah, Christian McCaffrey, for example, they didn't lose a game since then until they played the Philadelphia Eagles. And my point is, if you have a good running back, like even the Giants, for example, was Saquon Barkley.
Yep, him too.
Like, and credit to Daniel Jones, too. But, yeah, that's another thing, too. A quarterback that's able to run with the football, like Daniel Jones, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. You're seeing it more and more, and that's why I was high on Kenny Pickett, because I know he can move. And, I mean, he's at least proven that he can move in the pocket as well. So, Josh Allen's another one. He can move as well.
No,
Even Patrick Mahomes, when he's not hurt, like he's a quick
he can
runner.
run. He can run. That's almost like the bare minimum nowadays for quarterbacks. You have to be able to run a little bit. If not, like you just don't really see like a true pocket passer.
I forgot Justin Fields too, by the way.
Oh, Fields, yeah, he's an animal, dude. But I mean, as far as running goes, but listen, I think really, I mean, the only pocket passer that was really still left is Tom Brady, and he even Aaron Rodgers can run from time to time too.
Justin Herbert too. Well, Justin Herbert isn't the fastest, but he
can run.
He's athletic though.
All you need,
Same with Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence and
you don't need like a Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick kind of quarterback. All you need is someone that can take off for 15 yards every once in a while. Like if the pocket collapses, like that's all you need, and that's what hampered the Steelers last year or the year before when Ben. He had like 2 seconds to throw the ball. The offensive line, they get pushed back, and he's doing that quick thinking stuff where he's taking a sack. Like that's just if you can't move, like you're severely limited as far as quarterback goes. So,
and that's the thing with I want to say about Matt Canada is I feel like even though Kenny Pickett's a completely different quarterback than Ben Roethlisberger, he's kind of like a West Coast style kind of quarterback. I just don't get why. I just don't understand why he doesn't change up the playbook at all. It's still all the short passes and stuff. You have someone who can move in the pocket, Kenny Pickett. He's proven it this year, especially against, the Las Vegas Raiders earlier in the year, especially on that last drive. He can move in the pocket. He can get a first down if it's 3rd and 10. I just don't get why. Or let Kenny call the plays like you let Ben Roethlisberger at the tail end of last year. It's just I don't know.
No, I see what you're saying. I think part of my problem with Pickett last year, I'm not hating on him. I thought, if you watch the games, clearly, all the signs are there for a franchise quarterback. I will give you that. But, I just thought at times he was just too conservative. And, I know the numbers really didn't pop off. And, listen, the numbers don't really matter. What matters is winning games. I'm aware of that. But I think next year, I need to see more progress as far as stats go. I want to see him take more shots, deep shots down the field. I know they've struggled doing that. The Steelers pretty much since AB's left, they really haven't really thrown the ball that deep anymore. But you have George Pickens, he can make some crazy one-handed catches. Deontay Johnson, he's known to make some catches from time to time. If you do go the Jordan Addison route or you do draft another receiver, I think you do have to throw the ball. And I understand running the ball is still important. I don't want to lose sight of that. And beefing up your offensive line and defensive lines is also important. I don't think they'll be able to do all those things this year, but I think if they can take care of the offensive line and maybe a couple guys on the defensive line, they'll be well on their way to getting back to a really solid style of playing football, honestly. And I think part of the thing with Canada, I think he was kind of maybe more conservative with the playbook because Pickett was a rookie. I think that's probably what it was. I still don't think he's a great coordinator. Do not get it twisted, but I think hopefully this year we'll see some more stuff that's actually creative, and it doesn't look like it's the same 5 plays all game long. Because I'm going to be honest with you, that's not going to get you anywhere far. And you beat you're 4-0 against the worst division last year in football. That was 4 wins right there. And if you think you're gonna, here's the problem. So if the Steelers think they're gonna win every game they play, 15-10. You're going to be in for a rude awakening in this era of football because you have to score. Defense is still important, but if you're not scoring 25, 26 points a game on a consistent basis like you see with the Chiefs, Eagles, all those teams that are in the Super Bowl, literally the 2 best teams, it's going to be hard to win. And the days of a quarterback being a game manager and still making it to the Super Bowl, it's pretty slim pickings right now. The last team, maybe you can argue the 2012 Ravens. I mean, Joe Flacco did play well that year. So, like, you have those teams, the 2000 Ravens, maybe the 02 Bucks. Like, those are the last teams that really had, like, a great defense that could carry them. So, all I'm saying is I know Tomlin's a defensive-minded coach, but I want to see more of an offensive-minded approach next year. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I do want to go to your point. Like, I agree. Like, I don't really think it was a Pickett thing. I think it was just, like, a play-calling thing that they were too conservative. But I do agree with that. It just – when he did go for it, I mean, you saw in the first game, Chase Claypool dropped that like wide open pass 50 yards down the field, or the one where George Pickens against the Cincinnati Bengals 50 yards downfield and drops that pass. I mean, I also feel like though another thing too is we saw it a little bit this year. They didn't go for it enough. The over the shoulder pass to George Pickens, they don't go for it enough. He That's where Kenny Pickett's. I think that's his best pass. He did it all year with Jordan Addison. He wins the Blitnikoff. This year, you saw him do it with George Pickens as well. They just don't do the play call. Like you said, it's a little too conservative. And that's another thing too. Like it felt like when they got into the red zone. That's the thing. They had no problem. They had no problem getting to the red zone. They just couldn't get it in.
That was pretty much once Pickett got there. That was pretty much the entire rest of the season. Like that was the thing that was probably most frustrating. They had like really good drives almost every game, but once they got to the 20-yard line, bro, it's just like they just crapped the bed. And, like, they just could not get it into the end zone. And that's another thing that has
That's how it was last year, too.
Well, yeah. And that's how that has to get better this year. Like, that's not even an option. The red zone offense I would say, is probably the biggest issue overall. Like, you just can't be – it just goes back to my thing. You can't settle for field goals every drive. Like, you're not going to win games 9-3 against the Chiefs. That's just not possible. It's just not in today's NFL. You might get away with that against like the Texans and like maybe the two bottom tier teams, like other bottom tier teams. But like if you're trying to be serious and win a championship, you have to play championship level football, and that requires being competent on offense and defense. So
And I want to add too. So think about this: the Steelers' biggest blowout with Ben in his last year was against the Browns, 26-14. That was the only 10-plus point victory.
And, I'll let you go, but the context, Najee ran it off for a 37-yard touchdown at the end of the game. They were only up by a one-possession game.
It was a one-possession game. It was a one-possession
so it was really
game,
a one-possession game when you think about it.
And my thing, here's my point, too. Now, obviously, Ben Roethlisberger, he's a better quarterback than Kenny Pickett. That's no question. But here's the thing. If you're having Ben Roethlisberger and that Steelers team, dreadful in the red zone. The next year, completely different quarterback, Kenny Pickett, and the team, not good in the red zone. Both teams were not good in the red zone. So if you have two different quarterbacks, neither of them are good in the red zone with the pieces they have, then is it really? And they have no problem getting down the field. It's really not their problem then at the end of the day. It's probably the coordinator's problem, because if you have two quarterbacks that aren't able to punch it in, meanwhile Ben Roethlisberger was able to punch it in his whole career. Ask Antonio Holmes, and it's just one of those things where maybe it's not the quarterback when it gets down there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it is. And I want to just touch on an earlier point. Sonny Michel is currently a free agent, by the way. I think he was with the Rams last. But like you said though, it's not a coincidence that Ben, his last year, whenever they couldn't score the first three quarters, it wasn't a coincidence that Ben just said, "Oh, all right, shut up, Matt Cann, let me call the plays," and they actually drove down the field and scored when they needed to. I just that whole thing throwing.
A perfect example too was that Ravens game at the tail end of the year in Baltimore, winning 16-13.
Oh, dude, that was probably all year. That was probably as an abysmal start as I've ever seen a Steelers team have in a long time. They couldn't do anything, and it was against the Ravens' backups. That they had nothing. The Ravens pretty much had. Well, I think they were still in the hunt, but they were pretty much had nothing to play for at that point. And it didn't take till the fourth quarter when Ben he's on his last stand as an NFL quarterback, just said screw it, and he made a bunch of big clutch throws, and the rest is history. I know they got killed by Kansas City, but that was expected. So. But I mean, like we saw it that year. He had like 6 game-winning drives that year, and no one wants to mention that because everyone hates Ben Roethlisberger. Then that's why I've come to the conclusion. But I mean, even that year, I mean, some of the games like the Vikings game, they're getting their doors blown off. Dalvin Cook had the seas are parting. Like literally, he was wide open. Like the defensive line was getting absolutely trashed, and like. They were down, 28 points? And they almost came back and, tied it.
36-28, I think.
They were literally like a Pat Freiermuth touchdown drop away from almost tying the game. So they've shown that they can come back in spite of freaking Matt Canada.
And they should have had an extra play that game. The Vikings game.
Chase Claypool.
Chase Claypool, he had a really good rookie season.
Dude, he was great his rookie year.
And I don't know. I just feel like he had more to give with the Steelers, but at the same time, there was just some things were just so frustrating. You know what I mean?
You can say that for a lot of Steelers receivers.
And he got mad at who was it? Trey Turner.
Yeah, the center.
He got mad at him for stealing the ball.
Was he the center? I think he was like.
He was like a guard. I think.
Okay, yeah. I don't know why I thought he was a center, but no, it was Kendrick Green that was a center. Okay, but I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean Claypool, they fleeced the Bears, dude. Mm-hmm. They basically got a first-round pick for Chase Claypool. I know the Bears. I think the Bears were thinking, oh, well, he's a 6'4", 220, 230 receiver that can catch the 50-50 balls. But I don't think they watched enough tape because he can't catch 50-50 balls for his life.
He didn't against the Jets.
I mean, literally,
when Pickett came in, it's just. I think here's the thing. I think there was just something weird this year because I think he can, but I feel like he just really down this year. You know what I mean?
Honestly, this might be an unpopular opinion, but for the first half when he was in Pittsburgh, I thought he was really good. And hear me out here. So that game against Tampa Bay, he was clutch, dude. He was making a bunch of tough catches.
Oh, he had a really good game.
I think he had 9 for 90 receiving yards, a touchdown. So that was probably his best game since his rookie year. And so he's shown some improvement, but once he went to Chicago, he got hurt and it was a lost cause at that point. But the Steelers though, I think they can really. I've said this to you off the air. We've talked about with your dad. They can do some serious damage with their first 3 picks in the draft this year, and they can get better in a hurry, real quick if they hit on their players. Cornerback, offensive line, maybe defensive line, maybe receiver,
maybe Jordan Addison.
Those are all possibilities. Those are all on the table. Maybe even quarterback. I'm just joking. Yeah. I just want to see your reaction.
No, I'm just joking. I do want to say one thing about Claypool too. It could always be too that. He just didn't like the play system that they were running anymore. Because when I think of him, I think of almost. I don't want to say Mike Evans completely, but he's a deep threat guy, 50-50 guy, about the same height and stuff. But I don't think the playbook that the Steelers run fits the way he plays as a wide receiver.
No, I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, his rookie year, they still had Randy Fichtner as the coordinator, so. They were actually a competent offense. I know no one likes to hear that one either, but they were actually good. And after that, Claypool, he might have a catch here and there, but he never really got involved with the offense. And we saw it this year. I don't know who their wide receiver coach is, but whatever they did to Claypool, So if you watch the games, he pretty much caught everything his rookie year, and then towards the end of that year, he started dropping balls and not being able. He lost his ability to come up with the tough catches. I don't know what happened there, but he's just if you watch some of the film the past 2 years, he's falling backwards trying to make a catch rather than staying firm and sturdy and just try to jump over Moss a guy. It was just weird to watch. He kept falling backwards. I'm just what are you doing? And I'm just see, I've always been critical of Chase Claypool, not because I hate him. Because I think he can be a freaking really good receiver, a Pro Bowl caliber receiver, if he's actually right. But I just don't think maybe next year he's healthy and he balls out in Chicago. We'll see. But I just don't think he's really nothing more than a number 3, maybe a number 2 if he gets better. So
Yeah, and I think this is first off I agree. I don't want to completely just listen to your thing and just move on to the next thing.
No, you can move on.
But I do think that this is a good time now that we're talking about wide receivers. Let's talk about Devontae Smith. Let's talk about A.J. Brown. And let's go to the other team who they're playing. They're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's talk about Juju Smith-Schuster. And What Valdez-Scantling? I can't pronounce his name.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
Marquez, yeah.
Marquez, yes.
And here's the thing. Let's talk about that now. Let's talk about who we got in the Super Bowl.
Who
we got winning it.
You can go first.
And last year, I've always reminded everyone, I picked Kansas to win the NCAA tournament. And I picked the Bills this year to win the Super Bowl.
So do I, dude.
But I get a second chance. And with my second chance, I know that the refs won Mahomes and Travis Kelce. But I'm going Jason Kelce. I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles because here's why. They scored 31 points. Here's the thing. Even though the 49ers offense couldn't get anything going because, even their backup got hurt. Their fourth string, I should say. Mind you, their fourth string got hurt. All they could do was run the football. They only scored 7 points. Their defense was still healthy. And here's the thing. The Philadelphia Eagles scored 31 points against that defense, who has been on like murderer's row, I guess you can say, for the past 7 to 10 weeks. Mm-hmm. And they went out there and they scored 31 points. You can argue it should have been 24 points. We all saw the drop pass, but it was a good attempt at least. But hey, you got up to the line quick. That's really not the... I usually give officials crap, but you really can't blame the officials. Everyone thought that was a catch. If you get to the line quick, they snapped it quick. They did. They weren't even thinking about reviewing it, so I completely understand there. But you still scored 31 points. Jalen Hurts, he's looking like the real deal. He's been playing good. Miles Sanders has had a career year. Good running back. Saw him play in high school at Woodland Hills. It was good for Penn State, too. Good overall running back. And then you got A.J. Brown, you got Devontae Smith, and you got Dallas Goedert. You got a squad of players right there. I just think that the Chiefs are going to have a tough time containing that offense. The Chiefs did a good job against Joe Burrow. I do think that. But here's the thing. I still think Patrick Mahomes is still a little bit... and it's a high ankle sprain. I mean, that... You saw him at the end of the game. If Osai doesn't push him out, that game might go to overtime. And I think the Bengals had a chance. But, my thing is, though, I can't count out the Chiefs at the same time. Patrick Mahomes, he's still the best. I still think he's the best quarterback in the league. You still got pieces. You still got Juju. Your running back combo. Oh, yeah, don't mind you, Travis Kelce, he's open in the flat literally every single play. But your running back combo, I mean, you have Pacheco and McKinnon. They look good, too. I mean, I just think that it's going to be a closer game than the 49ers game. But I do think that the Eagles' defense has enough to slow down the Chiefs' offense because you saw the Bengals' defense slow down the Chiefs' offense. I think that the Eagles have a better defense than Cincinnati. So, therefore, I think that they'll slow them down. And I also think that the Eagles' offense has better matchups against the Chiefs' defense compared to the Bengals, especially with Tyler Boyd getting hurt. That really hurt when you take away your third wide receiver. Now, all of a sudden, you could put 2 guys on Jamar Chase and 1 guy on T. Higgins. That changes the whole entire thing. So I'm going to go with the Eagles, but I wouldn't bet on it just because I think it's going to be a really good game, and you never know what the refs are going to do. But I'm going with the Eagles.
All right, so listen, I'm going to break it down for you. You mentioned the Eagles position-wise. They're pretty much better than the Chiefs in almost every position except the most important position. That's quarterback. So, I've gone against Mahomes in picks pretty much all year long. Playoffs, I had the Bills over the Chiefs in the championship conference championship. I said I was one of the guys that probably said the Chiefs are going to have a down year because they lost Tyreek Hill. So at this point, I'm here with Patrick Mahomes now. The same way I'm with Tom Brady, I'm just not going to bet against them. I'm taking the Chiefs. At this point, I know the Eagles have a way better defense. Their offense is probably better overall. They have a better running game, I would argue. No, they do have a better running game. They go 3 deep at running back. And their wide receivers, probably the best duo, one of the best duos in the league in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And Jalen Hurts, before he got hurt, was playing at an MVP-like level. I get all that. Their defensive line goes 6 or 7 deep. Like, it's really deep. It's ridiculous. Defense is solid on the back end as well. All things should say, oh, pick Philly, but I just have this sneaky suspicion Patrick Mahomes has other plans. I mean, listen, they were underdogs against the Bengals. If they won, people didn't think they'd get past the Bills. I can argue the whole Damar Hamlin thing really, in some sick, twisted way, it really basically gave him the number one seed. I really don't like saying that, but it's kind of the truth. But at the same time, they took care of business, and they're in the Super Bowl again, so I do have to give them credit for that. And, it'll be a close game. It's not going to be a blowout. It's pretty much going to come down to who has the ball last, I think. And I think it'll be the Chiefs. And like we saw against the Bengals last week, Sky Moore had a kick return for like 30 yards. That was huge that no one wants to even mention. And then, the Mahomes, the run out of bounds, Osai hit him. That was the killer. And that was game. So, he did all that like in less than 30 seconds too, mind you. So we saw with the Bills the year before, anything like over 10 seconds, like you can't bet against Mahomes getting down, at least getting a field goal. Like it's almost like Thanos. He's like inevitable. Like you can't stop him. You can only try to contain him.
We just need Tom Brady to unretire. That's all.
Oh, stop. Go to the 49ers. I mean, that's really the only team that even has like a argument to even get him. Maybe the Raiders too, but that's about it. But yeah, I'm gonna take the Chiefs. I just have that sneaky suspicion, honestly. And I like the Eagles a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if they won. I would not. But you just can't bet against 15, man. I said this on Twitter. I'm gonna say it on here. The gap between him and the next best quarterback is very significant. I know people were trying to prop up Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, and they're both great quarterbacks, but there's great, and then there's just like a whole nother level, and he's on a whole nother level. And this year, he's been the best player in the NFL too. That's I don't want to say that's a wide margin too, because there's guys that have arguments, but I would say he's probably the best player overall, and like the next best guy. If you want to argue Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, maybe even Jalen Hurts, whoever you want to argue.
Kenny Pickett.
No, he still has a few more years.
He went to Pitt though. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just joking. No, you're cool. I know, but like the gap's just really big, and I think, we saw it this year. People, were saying the whole Tyreek Hill thing, and he had one of the best years a quarterback's ever had the past like 5 or 6 years. So, over 5,000 total yards for a quarterback is insane. I don't care if he plays 17 games. He's just the best player, and I know some people have tried to deny that since he's really been the best player since he stepped foot on for the first time in 2018 as a rookie. Well, he wasn't a rookie, but it was his first year starting. He's really been the best player ever since. I know maybe Aaron Donald has a case, Tom Brady too, but I mean that's about it too. That's really about it. That's my opinion. You might disagree, but it's fun.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but yeah, I just been thinking too. I just wish we could have saw that Bills team be fully healthy. Like you have if you get Von Miller, get Micah Hyde, even Damar Hamlin had well over 70 tackles. Like if you get those three players fully healthy on you, I mean they were playing with even their third string safety got hurt. Like they were playing with a fourth string safety. I don't know. I wish we could have saw that Bills team play fully healthy. I've just been thinking about that.
No, that's a fair assessment. Listen, their defense. I mean, first of all, their first big loss was Von Miller at Thanksgiving. That was a terrible loss because he was brought in to be the quote-unquote closer because he's had that playoff experience. He has 2 Super Bowl rings, so he knows what it takes to win. So you lose that, and then you lose, obviously Damar Hamlin. But even then, they were compromised on defense even before Hamlin got hurt. Like they were down safeties. Like their back end, it was like really dire. And we saw against the Bengals, they pretty much had no answer for Cincinnati when it came to the end. And something tells me had they found a way to win that game, they probably wouldn't have beat Kansas City. So, Josh Allen, when he's right and when he's like firing on all cylinders, he could go toe-to-toe with Mahomes. But we saw pretty much the back half of this year, outside of that first 2 months, he pretty much regressed big time. And, he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't the same player, and he just became really turnover prone. and he's just one of those guys. He does like same thing with Martavis Bryant, and he'll make one great play, and we're like, oh my gosh, that was like one of the greatest plays you'll ever see, and then he'll throw like a really dumb pick the next play. So
I think another thing too you could say too is just the whole shoulder issue too. Or was it his shoulder?
It was
right?
his shoulder, yeah.
That's the thing. Like, look at these like that's a big thing because look at Baker Mayfield when he had his shoulder injury, he fell off. Look at Cam Newton when he got his shoulder injury. He went from MVP to just like your average quarterback, and you got Baker Mayfield who had his first 3 seasons were great, but like I'm just saying like I think that definitely had something to do with it, even if it's a minor injury to the shoulder. Like you think about the throwing motion, like it really hurts you and it makes you overthink too as well. So
no, it really what it comes down to NFL, who's the least injured that gets to the Super Bowl, because everyone outside of maybe week 1, everyone's pretty much hurt in some degree. They have like a sore elbow, a sprained ankle, whatever, a broken finger. Like guys have so many injuries that they sustain probably every game in some form or fashion. Concussions. I just saw on ESPN's ticker, I think a day or so ago, they were up 18% from last year. So injuries, unfortunately, they're part of the game. Guys are really never truly healthy. Like I could say, I feel great today, but like I guarantee you, if you ask the average NFL player, I'm a little sore, X, Y, and Z kind of hurts. So that's just part of the game. Like you're just not meant, as entertaining as football is, you're just not meant to run into 350-pound guys every play. Like it's your body can only take that for so long before something gives. So that's all I had to say. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you had anything else as far as today's show.
That's why they have 6 days rest. And I remember playing ice hockey, like even just playing like, for example, like 16 games in a high school season, or just playing like for when I played for the Foxes or Aviators, playing like 20 to 30 games. After you're done playing those games, you can barely walk, and it's just like that's playing at, like, I played at a high level for my age at hockey and stuff like that, but it's nowhere near a pro level. And the thing about pro football, like that's probably times 50, and just seeing like how sore people can get. Like you can't. That's why like the whole Thursday games, you see a lot of players get hurt on Thursday games, gosh. And it's because there's short rest. You're literally getting 4 or 5 days of rest. You need to get 6 to 7 days. I'm sorry, you just have to.
No, yeah. I'll say one more thing about that. So, the NFL, obviously, they added 17 games last year, and the end of this year, I think they're going to add 18 here pretty soon, and I think it's a really bad idea.
I thought 17 was stupid.
I was perfectly fine with 16. Heck, even 14, I think is adequate. I know it's less football, but if you're talking about player health and safety, I think it's more important at this point.
The last 2 weeks are usually a waste, though, anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with it being 14 or 15.
Plus, I think, like, the Super Bowl would usually be this weekend, and now it's going to be pushed back to next weekend because you had an extra week in there. So if you think about this, if you add another week, you're probably going to have to add 2 more weeks because you're going to need another bye week. There's no way you can get through a 20-week season or however many, 19 weeks without, playing the whole year without two weeks of rest. So, you're talking about pushing the Super Bowl probably till like the end of February. Like that just doesn't seem right to me.
It used to. I mean, it used to be in early January, way back in the day.
Dude, playoffs were in December, and and then for the longest time it was always the first Sunday in February. It was the Super Bowl, and now it's just like, oh well. Let's do X, Y. Let's have more games because that means more money. That's what it is. It's a cash grab more than anything else. And, as much as, like, we love football, like, we're not stupid. We know what it is. And, like, when you put 17-game season and you're probably going to do 18 games, like, that's just crazy. Like, that is crazy. Injury. I guarantee you, if you do an 18-game season, there will be more injuries. There will be more injuries than there already is. I'm telling you.
And another thing too, you could shorten the preseason, which is going to hurt too.
Well, what at that point? What you have like one preseason game?
Yeah, and
you already have
like
what 2 or 3 already?
Yeah, they already cut it down to 3. And another thing too is like I just wanted to add too, like pretty soon I'm going to be eating my Easter ham and watching the Super Bowl. Like it's just like
yeah. And like that's another thing too. I didn't even mention, cutting preseason, that means less games for guys to like try to make a roster spot. So what you're essentially doing is you're screwing guys they're struggling to like make a team, that are fighting their butt off to make a team, and that they have less games to prove themselves to coaches. Hey, I belong on a roster. So like you're doing that too by extending the season, and like it's not like you don't make enough money as it is already. So that's just what I have to say about football. I think like they speak player safety, but I'm not always sure they have player safety in mind. I think it's more a money thing first. And
they don't.
No, let's be real about it.
And here's the thing, like especially after the whole DeMar Hamlin hearing reports about they wanted to still play that game and stuff like that. It's just like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like just lost a lot of interest in the playoffs. Like the predictions I made, I was just kind of like, I hope this happens and this happens. It just like, it's all a money thing. It's just crazy.
I'm not even gonna lie with you. Even like you said that. That's funny you just mentioned that. After that happened, I also kind of lost interest in like the playoffs. Like they just didn't seem like as fun to me as they usually are in past years. And for whatever reason that is, the whole Hamlin thing, maybe just because I'm busy with school. Like I don't know. I just didn't really get into it this year, and I honestly didn't even watch the first half of the Eagles 49. I just had no interest to watch. I don't know why. I just didn't feel like watching it. And like clearly I didn't miss much, but my point stands that like it's just like they need to do a better job with like player safety, benefits packages, because people also didn't really talk about DeMar Hamlin. He's like on his rookie contract, and he wasn't a first round pick, so money, like he's not making that much money, for a guy that's like just getting into the league. It looks like his career, he'll still be able to play football like that, which is cool. I get that, but like, think worst case scenario. Like, do you honestly think about the position his parents would be in, if the Bills decide to cut him because he can't play anymore? Like, think about all that. Like, I'm just saying, like the NFL, they're a $1 billion industry. They're the most popular sport in America. They have like conglomerates of money everywhere, like TV deals, advertisements. They're rich. They're not even rich. They're wealthy. So I just think they can do a lot better as far as player pensions and guys that retire. They can do way better, way better.
And do you want to close out with Kyrie Irving, by the way?
Sure, we can close out with that. You can go first on that.
Yeah. So first things first, Kyrie Irving. Saw him play when he was with Cleveland. My first NBA game was in 2012 against the Dallas Mavericks. I saw Kyrie Irving play. Ever since this day, he was my favorite player. Now he requests a trade out of Brooklyn. I don't get this one because Brooklyn, the East is okay. The Celtics are good. The Bucks are good. They have better records than the Nets. But the East is up for grabs, and you have two superstars. I just think Kyrie should have held out for the rest of the season. I mean, it just right before the trade deadline too. Like at least request it a couple weeks before. But I do have some things to say about it. I do understand Irving. Think about last year and stuff like that. I just feel like the whole thing with I will say this. He kind of put himself in it to sign in a market like New York. But New York was relentless to him and stuff like that. And I just feel like that the media and stuff like that kind of just – I think he doesn't want to change the scenery again. So I completely understand on why he requested a trade. And at the same time, I know a lot of people might not look at it this way, but at least he's requesting a trade now and not going to just get up and walk at the end of the season. Because think about it. If he would have just walked at the end of the season, he could have just signed a new contract elsewhere. So, I mean, at least he's giving them a chance to get a return out of him. But at the same time, like, I could see it both ways. I could see Kyrie Irving because he was probably fed up with the whole vaccine stuff, and that's his choice. I respect that. And here's the thing, but at the same time, like it's just like that team has a chance to win it this year, in my opinion. I think that the winner out of the East will have a chance to beat a team like the Nuggets, which I do think the Nuggets have a chance as well, especially with how they've been fully healthy and stuff with Jamal Murray. And Jokic, of course, Michael Porter Jr., KCP having a career year and stuff like that. But like I said, I hope Kyrie can change his mind because I do want to see what him and Durant can do one last time.
So I'll start out with saying this. Kyrie Irving, for as much flack as he's gotten in the media, has done a lot of good in New York as far as charity and just like outreach with the community. Even in Boston, Cleveland, I think he's done a lot of good. With that being said, I just don't understand like why now the Nets. I understand Durant's hurt, but before he was hurt, they were playing like probably the best basketball they've played as a unit in quite some time, probably since they've had James Harden, honestly. And it's just one thing after another with Kyrie Irving. It's whether it's vaccines or I'm not even talking about, forget vaccines, anti-Semitism, all this drama left and right. Want to be traded, don't like the coach. Think Steve Nash is not even like a real coach, and the whole thing like wanting to be an alpha male, and at Boston, that whole thing blowing up in his face. It's just like everywhere he goes, there's just something always going on. It just detracts from his game because he's a really good player to watch. Like, he's probably a top 15 player when he's healthy, and he's been healthy all year. And, like, this was actually – I was like, wow, we're actually going to go a whole year without any Kyrie Irving drama. And then here we are, literally a week before the trade deadline, essentially, and we have this nonsense. And, listen, why would you – just sign in free agency? Like, why would you want to be traded now? Like, I understand, like I've said in the past, I'm all for player empowerment. I understand owners are POSs. I'm well aware of that. They like the trick people and all that. I understand that, but like, I just don't understand. Like, even in the past, he's like, not even showing up to games, and he's been healthy. Going to his sister's birthday party or, protest. Oh, I don't feel like playing. Well, guess what? I don't feel like going to work sometimes, but I still have to do it. Like, he's just so frustrating because like I said, he does a lot of good, and he's not a terrible person. Like, I've never thought Kyrie was a terrible person, but he's just misguided on a lot of things he does, I think. And maybe that's bold of me to say, a college student saying that, but I don't know. Just some of the conspiracy theories too. I think they're a little out there. That's his business. I'm not gonna get into it. Like, that's his right to believe whatever he wants to believe. But just basketball. What it boils down to is basketball. And I think this year, like you said, they're like the third best team in the East right now. Why would you want to leave right now? And especially if KD's back, you're going to be a contender. I know they've struggled against Boston, but you never know. Injuries happen too. Like Boston, knock on wood. Like, you never know. Someone can get hurt for the Celtics, and that opens the window. And Giannis has played a lot of minutes. He's sat out a lot of games too. He could get hurt too. Once again, I'm not wishing that upon Giannis or any of the Celtics players, but anything can happen. And from now until June, and like, you're gonna punt on the season. Where are you gonna go? The Lakers don't have the assets to get you. I mean, that first round pick in 2026, really. And like, some of these trades that ESPN's mocked, like, they're just not very good. And I understand he's a free agent after this year, but at the same time, he's Kyrie freaking Irving. You can do a lot better than that. And I guess I'll close out by saying this. I really like Kyrie Irving. He's a really good player to watch. Probably one of the better ball handlers we've had in a long time.
I think he's the best one.
Probably. You can make that case. I have to look at other players, but
especially seeing him from up close too.
Yeah, no, he can score. Like, he's an elite scorer. He can get you 30 a night if you wanted to in his sleep. But it's just like, it just doesn't make any sense. Why now? Like, of all times, like, why now? Like, that's all I have to say about Kyrie. Like, it's just I've just never understood the whole thing. I just don't. And like, I get it. He's just on his own wavelength, and that, kudos to him. I respect Kyrie Irving as a player and as a person too. Like, I don't hate him. So, but I just think he's just misguided on a lot of his decision making skills, and that's not even talking about off the court. It's just talking about on the court, honestly. So, I don't know if you have anything else to say, but if you want to wrap up the show,
yeah. First things first, I want to say, regardless of what happens, I'm a Kyrie ride or die. But I will say this: should have stayed in Cleveland. If he would have stayed in Cleveland, who knows what would have happened in 2018-19 instead. If you still have Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, and LeBron James in 2018-19, they potentially could have beaten the Sixers or the Raptors or the Bucks that year. you guys can say whatever you want. I really believe that because those three players were still in their primes. LeBron had the longest prime probably out of anyone. So, and I still think Jordan's the GOAT. But, I'm just saying, like, LeBron is still putting up numbers this year, too. He's about to pass up Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, too. So, but, yeah, that's just my point. Should have stayed with Cleveland, stayed out of the drama. Cleveland's not, the biggest city. Yes, they had LeBron, but still, like, when you go to the Nets, you're going to get as much coverage as you do LeBron because you're in Brooklyn. And Brooklyn itself is a ton bigger. It is bigger than Cleveland. So it just, that's my point. But I think that's a good ending point.
No, I agree. One more thing. LeBron I think he's on pace to break it Tuesday, the all-time scoring record. So just keep an eye out on that for any NBA fans out there. It'll be a heck of an accomplishment, but, you catch the drift of LeBron at this point. But, I mean, once again, thank you for doing this show, Tony. Always a pleasure talking sports with you.
You too, man. You too.
By the way, the Steelers should draft a quarterback in this year's draft. But anyway, you can find our show at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Just search the Rossetti and Stewart Podcast. If you check out our past episodes with guests such as Joe Klimchak, Keith McPherson, AJ Nelson,
AJ Nelson and AJ Woods.
Yeah, no, it is AJ Nelson. I keep thinking of Azure. Yeah. Okay, yeah, AJ Woods, One Way Out. Khalil Spear. We've had a good amount of guests. We're gonna have some in the future.
We put up
too.
the audio of my DeMar Hamlin interview.
Yes,
too,
I posted that. So
people were asking in the comments. It was from September of not September. The article came out in September of 2021.
Yes.
But the interview happened before the draft in 2021.
Yes.
He ended up working he was supposed to be undrafted. He ended up working his way to the 6th round because he had that good of a combine and stuff. So.
Yeah, but like I said earlier in the show, though, I am talking to a guest. Hopefully they can come on pretty soon. They're very busy, as you know. Like, not everyone just sits at home all day long. They actually work. So trying to figure that one out. We'll probably have one maybe not next week, but the week after, and then, maybe another one the week after. It just depends. And I'm also going to reach out to a third person. He played in the NFL, too. We'll see if he actually responds this time. I've been trying to reach out to him, too, but it's kind of been a bit of a struggle. But, I mean, yeah, that's just what you can look forward to here on the Rossetti and Stewart Podcast. For Antonio Rossetti, I'm Justin Stewart. Thanks for listening whenever you are, and we'll see you soon. Adios.